Welcome, listener, to another deep dive. This is where we cut through the noise, get straight to the fascinating insights, and hopefully leave you feeling genuinely well-informed.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we're diving into the, frankly, thrilling world of Formula One. Got two really distinct stories for you.
Okay.
First, the absolute cutthroat battle in the midfield for the 2025 season. And second, the, well, ambitious but maybe slightly chaotic entry of Cadillac.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our goal here is simple. Give you that shortcut to really understand what's going on, the dynamics, the future, all the surprising bits, and, the context you actually need.
Consider it your definitive briefing.
Right, so we're at the halfway point of the 2025 F1 season. 12 rounds down, 12 still to go. And look, the headlines, they often go to the front runners.
Always.
But that midfield battle, say from fifth place downwards, you could argue it's tougher, more unpredictable than ever before.
And what's really interesting, we've just had this slightly unusual mini break. It was mentioned over on the Race F1 blog, actually.
Oh.
And it's the perfect time to actually take stock. Because things are changing so fast in that group, it's incredibly close. A mid-season look, essential right now.
So let's start with Williams. Early on, they were actually leading our pace ranking, sitting fifth in the constructors with 59 points. Pretty good start.
Very strong.
But here's where it gets, well, really interesting. 51 of those points. First 7 events. The last 5 events. Just 8 points. That's dramatic. What on earth happened?
Yeah, that massive drop-off for Williams, it raises a really important question, doesn't it? About how fine the margins are in F1.
Definitely.
They went from being, the fastest car in the midfield down to third best over just the last 6 races. And it wasn't one thing, it was a mix of issues that sort of undid them.
Like what specifically?
Well, you had engine reliability problems. Alex Albon had 2 retirements, Canada and Austria. We saw hints on Sainz's car, too. Then there were brake cooling issues for Sainz in Canada. Execution errors. Albon's first lap mistake, also in Canada. Sainz had a poor qualifying somewhere in there. And honestly, just some plain bad luck.
The classic F1 luck factor.
Exactly. Sainz impeded in Canada, front wing damage in Spain, and then just, innocently wiped out at Silverstone. Just one thing after another.
And Mark Hughes, also writing for the Race F1 blog, he pointed to a potential turning point around Spain. A sudden pace change. He called it such a big drop-off, and it's so sudden and it's so consistent. Could that be linked to those technical directives? The flexi wings.
It's a really striking point. Now, correlation isn't causation, as they say.
Sure.
But the timing fits. These TDs, they're clarifications from the FIA. If a team was maybe pushing the limits with a flexible part, a TD shuts that down.
Okay.
And add to that, Williams also switched their focus, their active development, to the 2026 car really, really early.
Oh, that makes sense, too.
Yeah, so their upcoming last 2025 upgrade that was actually planned months ago, it kind of speaks to maybe manufacturing limits, but definitely their long-term strategy.
So where does that leave them now?
Well, they've been about the 8th fastest car since Spain. They've lost that early edge, no doubt. But they're still, in that mix for decent points if they can sort out this vague cooling issue they seem to have and just execute better. The potential's there.
Right.
And Alex Albon, he's currently leading our fun little Class B championship where we take out the top 4 teams. He's leading that by a hefty margin. 174 points shows what he can do.
Okay, moving from Williams' tale of 2 halves, let's look at Racing Bulls. 6th fastest on average, but 7th in the standings, 37 points. The car is described as very drivable. Rookie Isa Qajar impressing.
Yeah.
But there's the gap between pace and results. What's the story?
Yeah, the key thing there seems to be the unsettled second car. They started with Yuki Tsunoda, then Liam Lawson came in. And Lawson, well, he took a bit of time to, get his eye back in after being out, but he just started to come good in Austria, apparently.
Interesting.
And get this team has actually had more Class B pole positions 6 times, including the sprints, than anyone else in that group.
Wow, okay, so the Saturday pace is definitely there.
It really is.
And didn't Alan Payne, the team principal, say something about their Spain upgrade being mostly down to the TD?
He did, yeah. He said it was 80% because of the TD and 20% sort of general performance. Pretty candid admission about how much those directives can impact design.
So the car is drivable, inspires confidence.
It seems so. It allows the drivers to, hit that peak more often. You see it with Qajar recovering in Monaco after hitting the wall twice. Or Lawson keeping his cool in Austria with Alonso breathing down his neck in the DRS.
Impressive composure.
Very. And the team itself has been very tidy this season. They're avoiding those missteps they might have made in previous years. Consistency is key.
But there's a limit.
Oh, yeah. Hajar's comment at Silverstone that the car just kind of runs out of downforce in the fast corners, that highlights its specific limitation. Overall, they're pretty much where you'd expect a solid midfielder of the midfield.
Okay, next up, Alpine. 7th fastest on average pace, but dead last in the championship. How? How can a car that looked like a genuine midfield threat in testing end up so disappointing? This one feels like the biggest mystery.
It is an absolute enigma, isn't it? One theory is they were hurt early on by that initial flexi-wing clampdown, but on the rear wing this time, that came in for China, round 2.
Okay, so maybe hit by TDs at both ends.
Potentially, but beyond that, there's an established engine issue. It hits them harder in the race than qualifying. The power unit just doesn't harvest and deploy energy as well as others.
Right, the ERS system.
Exactly. And on top of that, the car itself is apparently quite stiff. Poor ride quality. Franco Colapinto apparently drove it and was surprised by just how stiff the Alpine is versus the Williams he drove last year. That combination just undermines them in the Grand Prix.
So it sounds like what you described, the single biggest discrepancy between qual pace and race pace. Yeah. A real Jekyll and Hyde car. What does that mean on a Sunday?
Precisely. Qualifying. Low fuel, soft tires. The car's issues can be masked a bit, especially with Pierre Gasly behind the wheel. He can really wring its neck for one lap. He's phenomenal at that.
But the race.
But come the race, full fuel load, tires degrading.
Yeah,
the nastiness shows. Gasly is absolutely their main asset right now, doing an astonishing job, really. He's the big overachiever.
How's he doing that Class B ranking?
He's 5th with 119 points. That's despite Alpine being last in the real championship. And their other 2 drivers, Dwan and Colapinto, only having 21 points each.
Wow, that difference is stark.
It really highlights the issues, doesn't it? There's talk of general nonsense and upper management nonsense, like Flavio Briatore demanding points from Colapinto. Stuff like that just undermines the whole effort.
Okay, let's pivot to Aston Martin. 8th fastest on average, 8th on points. But the feeling here is different, right? Tangible improvement, genuine momentum.
Absolutely. A very different story. They seemed pretty lost last year, struggling to find direction.
I remember that.
But they had a big reshuffle internally and then a major upgrade package at Imola. That was seen as a significant test of the new structure. And since then, they've been consistently very quick.
How quick?
Well, since that upgrade, they've actually been the fastest midfield team in Q2 sessions.
Okay, that's a serious turnaround. Now, Lawrence Stroll, impatience, open checkbook. What does this surge mean for them, especially with, the Adrian Newey whispers?
Well, their trajectory is really, really encouraging. You can definitely start to see maybe some hints of the Newey effect in their development path. Even if it's just influence, it seems to be working.
Right.
Fernando Alonso is still extracting more from it than Lance Stroll, 119 Class B points for Fernando, 79 for Lance. But the whole team is unmistakably going in the right direction.
Any more upgrades planned for this year?
There's talk. Andy Cowell apparently hasn't ruled out putting the 25 model back in the wind tunnel briefly, so maybe one more upgrade after the summer break.
Interesting. Why would they do that with 2026 looming?
Well, they get extra development time ATR allowance because they were 8th when it reset. More wind tunnel time, more CFD. Plus, there's probably a little bit of pressure from Lawrence Stroll to maximize this year's result, too.
Makes sense. Okay, Haas. 9th on average pace, 9th on points, only 29. Figures that, as the source says, should be more impressive given how good that car is. What's holding them back?
Yeah, you're right. The car can be very good. It's just not consistent. That's the core issue. They did recover well after a tough start in Australia, and their Silverstone upgrade, that was their first proper pure performance upgrade, showed a solid baseline.
They had an earlier one, too.
In Japan, yeah. That was more of a best guess because they didn't have wind tunnel time then, but it still worked. Which suggests they have a real understanding of what its car is doing. The knowledge seems to be there.
But it feels like there have been some really big missed opportunities. Just moments where points slipped away.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Ollie Bierman's weekend at Silverstone kind of summed it up. Makes Q3 great. Then gets a stupid grid penalty. The team has an absolute disaster of a race. Wrong strategy calls, drivers hitting each other.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it's been a pretty hassy season in that respect. Behrman's often the faster driver, but just struggles to convert that into results. Plus, their development facilities are still limited. That plays a part, too.
And where are they in Class B?
Interestingly, they're third, not actually that far off Racing Bulls, which probably reflects their underlying potential better than ninth overall does.
Fascinating. Okay, finally, Sauber,
Hey, so
the prize package. We resoundingly pilloried them after testing, didn't we?
We did. And look, they're still the slowest car on average pace,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow they're up to 6th in the championship with 35 points, including that podium for Nico Hülkenberg in Spain. It's an amazing story of overachievement.
How are they doing it?
Well, they started with a very, very basic car. Production delays meant it was underdeveloped, but crucially, they knew what they had coming. The updates they planned have consistently improved it, and they've just been banging in the points regularly.
But wait, you said the car is still the slowest on average pace.
Yeah, and here's the beautiful irony, as the source puts it. Their massive upswing in results actually came when, in raw terms, the cars got slower, relative to the others improving faster, perhaps.
If the car isn't faster, how are they getting results? What's the secret sauce?
It's about relative performance and hitting those individual peaks at the right moments, but maybe even more important, big operational improvements behind the scenes.
The team itself.
Exactly. People like Jonathan Wheatley, Matty Bonato are credited. They've made Sauber a tighter, operationally better unit. And after all the operational issues they had last year, this is huge. It shows they can be a credible racing team.
Which must be hugely encouraging for the Audi takeover, right?
Incredibly encouraging for the Audi era. It proves the foundation can be solid. And now they're regularly nibbling at the edges of Q3. It's a testament to getting the processes right.
So wrapping up the midfield, what's the big picture takeaway? It's the closest midfield we've ever had, right? Where one upgrade.
One single upgrade could genuinely be the difference between finishing 5th or 10th. And that's potentially tens of millions in prize money. It's huge.
Which leads to that big question. Will teams get tempted? Will they get suckered into developing the 2025 car for longer, even with the massive 2026 rule changes coming?
It's a massive dilemma. Williams seems pretty much all in on 2026.
Yeah.
But Alpine, they need to solve their inconsistency. Aston Martin, they want to ride that momentum, use that extra ATR allowance.
They might be tempted.
They might. And look at Alonso at Aston Martin. He's 55 points behind Albon in our Class B championship. Could he go on the rampage in the second half and try to win that unofficial title? It's a fascinating balancing act for all these teams.
Okay, shifting gears completely now. Let's turn to a really hot topic that's bubbling up. Sergio Perez, Checo, returning to F1 with Cadillac.
Yeah, quite the rumor, isn't it? SoyMotor.com suggests confirmation could come around the Gran Premio de Hungría, so just before the summer break.
That soon. Wow.
Seems so. Auto Evolution is claiming Perez is the man chosen. Another source, Automotor on Sport, puts him high on the list, alongside Valtteri Bottas.
Okay, so Perez and Bottas are the main names.
It looks like it. Cadillac seems to want one experienced driver and one young pilot, which implies Perez and Bottas, being two veterans, probably couldn't coexist in the same lineup.
Right. So let's unpack Perez first.
Okay.
From his side, what are the pros and cons of joining a brand new Cadillac F1 team?
Well, the pros are pretty significant for Checo. Huge Mexican support, obviously. Carlos Slim is mentioned as basically supporting from behind. That's massive.
Financial and cultural backing.
Exactly. He's seen as an excellent driver, a perfect ambassador with his Latin American and U.S. connections. And crucially, he has enormous experience in relaunching teams. Think Force India, Racing Point.
Good point. He's done that before.
Yeah. And there's even a small link back to the Ferrari Driver Academy, which is a soft pro given Cadillac will use Ferrari engines initially.
Okay, and the cons for him?
The main con, really, for Checo himself is probably just, is Cadillac attractive enough? Is this new project worth the massive personal commitment? We're talking traveling maybe 300 days a year to build a team from scratch. That's a huge ask.
Definitely a lifestyle choice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about Bottas? From a purely cold business perspective, what advantages does he bring to a new team like Cadillac?
Looking purely at the cold numbers, Bottas has the edge statistically. More wins, 10 versus Checo's 6. More poles, 20 versus 3. More fastest laps, more runner-up finishes.
Okay, the stats favor Bottas.
They do. And he's more recently connected to a top team as Mercedes' third driver. He's tested a McLaren and a Merc recently, so he's very current with the cars.
But the downsides?
Well, he doesn't have those strong regional ties that align with Cadillac's brand values. He's also admitted himself he doesn't have the financial muscle that perhaps other drivers might have. And you have to question his personal motivation, right? After winning races with Mercedes, does he want to join a brand new, likely struggling team?
Fair question. Okay, here's where one source got dramatic. The names being floated for Cadillac's second seat, the young pilot seat, were described as enough to scare Beelzebub. Wow. That's quite the statement. Who are we talking about?
Yeah.
So, well, it's an interesting list. You've got Mick Schumacher, who, let's be honest, didn't perform at HAAS, where he had zero pressure and hasn't had a regular F1 drive for 3 years now.
Okay.
Then Felipe Drugovich,
Oh.
a very good driver, F2 champion in 2022.
Okay.
But he's also been 3 years without a single race apart from Le Mans. Ring rust could be an issue.
Right.
Frederick Vesti, second in F2 last year, but described as maybe the least motivating option.
Yeah.
And Guan Yu Zhou is also mentioned.
He's driving now. Exactly. And he could potentially be the best option of that bunch. He has a current Ferrari link through SAUBER, which is useful for the engine integration, and he actually beat Bottas last year at SAUBER.
Still, overall, the list feels a bit underwhelming.
Uninspiring was the word used. And yeah, it feels that way for a major manufacturer coming in. It raises a bigger question, really.
Which is?
Just how prepared is Cadillac overall? They seem to be running very late. It's mid-July now. They're supposed to be on the grid in January 2026, and they don't have a single confirmed driver yet.
And there are other poor signs being reported too, right?
Yeah.
No actual car shown, just renders and mock-ups, staff numbers behind target.
Exactly. No real car presentation, just renders and photos and mock-ups. Staffing is apparently around 360 people now, but the target was closer to 500 or 600. It really feels like they're playing catch-up.
So what are they doing now?
It sounds like a lot of Band-Aid work. There's an urgent push to sign drivers just to get them in the simulator because their current US-based sim drivers lack recent F1 experience.
Right. They need that feedback loop.
Desperately. And here's a fascinating detail from Auto Motor on Sport. Their plan for October: a TPC, a test car preseason, using a 2023 Ferrari.
A 2023 Ferrari, not their own car.
Apparently not, because they don't have their own car ready yet. So they'll be practicing pit stops, getting mechanics and engineers up to speed. But with a car completely different to the one they'll actually race in 2026, they're going to be very green come Milden.
And is this lateness maybe linked back to those earlier issues? The whole Andretti saga, the delays getting the entry approved? Mario Andretti suggested they lost maybe 9 months or a year and a half.
That could well be a significant factor, yeah. The stumbling blocks certainly didn't help their timeline. There's even a genuine fear being whispered that they might not make the 107% rule in Australia 2026. They might be too slow to even qualify initially.
Wow, that would be disastrous.
It would. But if we try to find a positive spin, the one upside of all this delay is that they have dedicated all their 2025 resources entirely to the 2026 car, unlike most teams splitting focus.
True. Small silver lining, perhaps.
Perhaps. Graham Loudon, the team principal, he's acknowledged how hard it is. He said it's difficult to enter F1 because it's the greatest challenge in motorsport. He calls it an adventure. Apparently, there's a clock in the factory counting down the days to the 2026 Australian Grand Prix.
A literal countdown clock.
Oh.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together. What does it all mean for us, the fans, watching this unfold? We've looked at this incredibly tight midfield battle where, remarkably, every team has had at least one win in our Class B fight.
Yeah, amazing parity there.
And then we've got this audacious but clearly very challenging attempt by Cadillac to join the grid.
It really does highlight the two extremes of Formula One right now, doesn't it? You've got the hyper-competitive current season, razor-thin margins everywhere, and then the massive, often hidden struggle of just building a new team from scratch, starting from a very green position.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As F1 keeps growing, new players trying to break in, what's going to define the sport's future more? Will it be these intense, high-stakes battles between the established teams in the middle? Or will it be the sheer audacity, maybe even the struggles, of those trying to push their way onto the grid at all, potentially with driver lineups that are, well, not very inspiring, as the source put it? The race is definitely on, both on the track and very much behind the scenes. Something to certainly mull over until our next deep dive. If you enjoyed digging into this with us, please do subscribe. We'll bring you more in-depth analysis and those surprising insights from the world of Formula One next time.